Well, the Yankees continue to be streaky, although this time they are streaking in the wrong direction. They lose their third straight game, this time to the Angels. Corey Kluber made his return last night. I thought he was really good for the first 3 innings, but early on in the 4th inning and actually late in the 3rd inning, you could see that some of his pitches just weren't as crisp. And I actually tweeted that he looked good so far, but he looked like he might run out of gas soon, and that's exactly what happened. When you start to hang breaking balls, even if they get called strikes, that's going to put hitters into more of an aggressive mode. And that's exactly what you saw the Angels do in the 4th inning last night. They just started swinging the bat, being more aggressive, and it led to 5 runs, including a grand slam. Andrew Heaney also struggled out of the bullpen, served up a home run to Shohei Ohtani. Wandy Peralta did not have a great night, gave up a base hit and a walk. Clay Holmes was okay. Offense-wise, Giancarlo Stanton continues to swing the bat well. He hit his 25th home run of the season last night, a 2-run shot. He had 3 RBIs overall. He's hitting .271, .864 OPS, now with 70 ribbies on the season. DJ had a couple of hits. Rizzo had a couple of hits and an RBI. Aaron Judge had a couple of hits, but the bottom of the order didn't do much. Between Gallo and Velasquez, 5 through 9 in the order, the Yankees had just 1 hit. Gardner did have 2 walks. Gallo had a walk as well. But overall, it was the top of the lineup that did the damage, and just not enough damage. At least not enough damage to make up for some bad pitching. I kind of want Andrew Heaney off this team. I feel like if you give up a home run every single time you come in the game, whether it's as a starter or a reliever, that's just not good enough. I don't like watching Andrew Heaney pitch. I just don't want him on the team anymore. Find something. You mean to tell me that Luis Gil in AAA is a worse option than Andrew Heaney? I get it. He throws left-handed. That's not enough to be a good pitcher in the major leagues. I'm sorry. Andrew Heaney has got to go. As for Corey Kluber, look, we all saw that he was losing his stuff. John Flaherty even mentioned it on the telecast. Now look, John Flaherty is probably the driest announcer in the history of professional sports, but he does know his stuff. He knows when to recognize when a pitcher is beginning to lose it a little bit. And he saw it coming. He made a couple of comments about how Corey Kluber was getting away with some pitches, and it was pretty obvious. I mentioned on one of my recent videos that that's kind of what I expected. Something more along the lines of what he did in the first couple of outings this season when he was just getting back into the rhythm. He didn't have a ton of rehab outings. He's coming back from an injury. He's being careful. This doesn't change my opinion on Corey Kluber. He still had a lot of movement, showed a good slider last night, or slurve, whatever you want to call it. I think he's going to be solid down the stretch. But he just kind of hit the wall in the 4th inning, and the Angels got very aggressive. There were some positives. The Yankees went 5 for 9 with runners in scoring position. The team left on base was 5, although they did have 12 individual men left on base throughout the lineup. I go by how many opportunities you get with men left on base. In the main part of the box score, there's an LOB column. That counts for every single person when they come up, if they had a chance with runners on base and they didn't execute. Those are men left on base. But at the end of an inning, the Yankees only left 5 men on base all night. And they didn't do much the second half of the game, frankly. They jumped out to an early lead, but after Giancarlo's home run, they didn't do much the last couple innings. And if you weren't thinking wild card already, it's time to start thinking wild card. The Yankees are not catching the Rays. The Rays won again last night. They beat Boston. They are 83-48 so far this season, and the Yankees just have no chance to catch them. They're not playing 8 games better than the Rays the rest of the season. I'm sorry, they're just not. They are 7 games out. They're +2 in the wild card. You need to start winning so that you can maintain that wild card lead. You can't be so up and down. But you have to be impressed by what the Rays have done this season. They've won 8 straight. They've scored 702 runs. The Yankees have scored 572 runs. The Yankees have scored less runs than everybody in the division except for the Little League Baltimore Orioles, who've scored 534 runs. Toronto scored more runs, 649. Boston has scored more runs, 670. The Yankees have not scored enough runs. However, the Yankees have allowed 521 runs, which is the least amount in the division. And because the Red Sox lost, at least they don't gain on the Yankees going into a one-game wild card potential playoff. Could you imagine a one-game wild card playoff? Garrett Cole versus Chris Sale in Boston on the road? It's probably going to be at Yankee Stadium, and that's still going to be a great matchup. Chris Sale versus Garrett Cole, if it lines up that way, that's going to be a fun night. Giancarlo Stanton just continues to pummel the baseball. He was highlighted on both of my videos yesterday, both Yankees game day and Yankees game night, just how well he's been swinging the bat. He continues to go through these incredibly hot streaks. He might end up with over 30 home runs this year. Solid year for Giancarlo. He's hitting over 270 now. I think if you had told everyone back in late April that Giancarlo was going to hit over 270 with 30 home runs this year, I think most people would have taken it. I don't think he's going to drive in 100 runs. He's got to drive in 30 more before the end of the season. But overall, because of these incredibly hot streaks that he has, one in May and one now, he's put up some good numbers in aggregate. And maybe we hold Giancarlo to a higher standard because he hit 59 home runs and won an MVP before he got here. But it's really hard to do that. That's why you don't see many people hit 59 home runs. Giancarlo's probably never going to hit 50 home runs again. But you know what? He's become a pretty solid Yankee this year. And going back to some of these comments by the Mets players who have said that fans shouldn't boo, I think it's interesting how Giancarlo Stanton has handled being booed by Yankees fans since he got here. He got booed from his first day in Yankee Stadium. You might remember the Yankees opened up 2018 in Toronto, and Giancarlo Stanton hit 2 home runs in that game. I think one of them was off of J-Happ, and the other one was off of Tyler Clippard, so a couple of future Yankees. And then they make it to Yankee Stadium, and they open up against the Rays, and he strikes out 5 times in his Yankee debut. And he really heard it from the fans. He bounced back the next day. He hit a home run off of Blake Snell, I believe. But he's been up and down, and he gets booed a lot. A lot of fans don't like how much money he makes. A lot of fans don't like that he gets injured for long periods of time, and so he gets booed. But he has never once come out against the fans. He's always said, hey, look, it's on us to perform. We get paid a lot of money to perform. I would boo us too if I were in the stands. He's handled it like a man. He's handled it very well. And the same can't be said for Javi Baez and the other members of the Mets team who are complaining about being booed, despite the fact that they've really played terribly over the past several weeks. I enjoyed the statement from the Mets GM who basically said, you know, any kind of negative response to the fans is unacceptable. I've seen a few people on various Yankees forums say, hey, I was a Mets fan casually, but I'm going to start rooting for the Yankees because I don't like the way the players are treating us now. Welcome to the evil empire. I also didn't enjoy that comment from Marcus Strowman. So Marcus Strowman at times runs his mouth off. He really wanted to play for the Yankees a couple of years ago. He said, look, the Yankees need pitching. Nobody's as good as me, yada, yada, yada. Ended up signing with the Mets. And look, he's had a good year. But yesterday he called Michael Kay racist because Michael Kay doesn't have any black co-hosts. Do you realize that Michael Kay is not the hiring manager at ESPN? Michael Kay is talent. He doesn't hire people. Michael Kay has never given any kind of inkling of being racist. Say what you want about his personality, his announcing skills. The man is the consummate professional. Michael Kay's not racist. And do we have to turn everything into racism these days? Come on. Can't we all just get along? and this is a baseball podcast, so I don't want to stay on this topic for too long, but perpetuating racism when it isn't there is pretty much just as bad as being racist. You can really harm somebody's reputation by accusing them of race. If you have a voice as an influencer like Marcus Strowman does, and you go out there and attack Michael Kay, you can really harm his reputation over him not having a co-host that you approve of. Since when does Michael Kay hire people at ESPN? That's just a really bad take from Marcus Strowman, and he should be ashamed of himself. Anyway, back to baseball. The Yankees seem to have trouble filling that eighth inning role that has been departed by Zach Britton. You were really counting on him to be a stud in that role this year. But, coming out of spring training, he got hurt. He's been on and off the injured list and ineffective most of the season. Now he's out for the season. Chad Green has not been as effective in big spots. Chad Green is one of those guys who's got great stuff, but in big moments, you look in his eyes, and you just don't see that killer instinct. He's had a few big moments in his career as a Yankee, but a lot of times he just looks afraid out there. And that's not what I want to see out of a guy in the eighth inning. And Aroldis Chapman looks like he just got out of a bath. He's sweating so hard when he comes in the game. I feel like the Yankees should have maybe gone out and gotten some more bullpen help at the trade deadline as well. They did get Clay Holmes, sinker baller. He had a scoreless inning last night. He continues to have the highest ground ball rate in the major leagues. I like Clay Holmes. He's got a good fastball, 98, 99. And when a sinker is coming in that tough, it's really hard to square up. It's like hitting a bowling ball. I think once you get to the playoffs, you're going to count on Jonathan Loaizaga to be your 7th and 8th inning bridge most of the time. 2 innings, if you need to go to somebody earlier in the game, maybe you go to Clay Holmes a little bit earlier, Chad Green a little bit earlier. Albert Abreu has shown some promise, but he hasn't been quite as good as of late. Yanks have some work to do before they get to the postseason. They are now leading the wild card by a couple of games, but I think the division has fallen out of reach. I am going to take the rest of the day off. I am quite busy this afternoon, so I will see everybody on Wednesday for a post-game recap. The Yankees play at 7 p.m. Eastern, and then they have Thursday off, and then they're home to take on the Baltimore Orioles. That should be, hopefully, the elixir for this losing streak if the Yankees can't get it going over the next couple of days. I'll see you next time.